From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 26th, 2019. Well, after incessant rocket fire overnight from Gaza at southern Israel, an informal ceasefire seems to be holding. More than 60 rockets slammed into southern Israeli towns into the early morning hours. Some were intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense system. Others landed in open areas. One rocket made a direct hit on a home in Sderot. It landed on the floor of a child's bedroom, but luckily did not explode. The house did sustain damage. There were no injuries there or elsewhere in Israel during the night. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesperson for the Arab media, Ophir Gendelman, shared video published by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist organization in Gaza, showing how they launched dozens of rockets on Israeli towns from residential areas of Gaza. Gendelman wrote, "This is a double war crime. Palestinian terrorists in Gaza always hide behind civilians." In response to the onslaught, Israeli jets struck numerous military compounds and positions belonging to Palestinian Islamic Jihad and to terror group Hamas, including the office of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. The IDF response began yesterday afternoon following the rocket yesterday morning that landed on a home in central Israel, injuring the home's 7 family members. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu returned to Israel in light of the situation, cutting short his visit to Washington, where he was slated to personally address the AIPAC National Policy Conference today, but instead spoke to the gathering via satellite, where Netanyahu addressed the rockets from Gaza and the IDF response, vowing that Israel will do what is necessary to defend itself. The Prime Minister thanked the 18,000 AIPAC attendees for their unified support.
Thank you. Thank you, AIPAC. Thank you for bringing together 18,000 proud Americans and more than 4,000 American students who stand with Israel. Thank you for working to strengthen support for Israel on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans alike. That is how it's always been, and that's how it should always be. Those who seek to defame this great organization, AIPAC, those who seek to undermine American support for Israel, they must be confronted. Despite what they claim, they do not merely criticize the policies of Israel's government. God, I'm used to that. That happens every 5 minutes. They do something else. They spew venom that has long been directed at the Jewish people. Again, the Jews are cast as a force for evil. Again, the Jews are charged with disloyalty. Again, the Jews are said to have too much influence, too much power, too much money. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what the best way to respond to this kind of hatred is? The best way to respond to those who spout this kind of hatred is not to bow down to them, it's to stand up to them.
Netanyahu also lauded U.S. President Donald Trump's official recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights yesterday, and referring to the controversial nation-state law passed last year, stressed that Israel was a vibrant democracy where no one is a second-class citizen. Also addressing AIPAC today was Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, who condemned the rocket attacks on Israel and reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself. Pelosi also condemned the BDS movement against Israel and called for a peace deal with the Palestinians that ensured Israel's security. And in what was apparently a reference to Minnesota lawmaker Ilhan Omar's recent anti-Israel and anti-Semitic remarks, Pelosi stressed that support for Israel in Congress remains relentlessly bipartisan. And without mentioning Omar by name, Pelosi emphasized that accusations of dual loyalty were anti-Semitic and unacceptable.
I simply declare to be anti-Semitic is to be anti-American. It has no place in our country.
Meanwhile, rejecting calls for Democrats to boycott AIPAC from progressive grassroots group MoveOn.org, New Jersey Senator and presidential hopeful Cory Booker addressed the policy conference today, vowing his support for the Jewish state.
If I forget thee, O Israel, may I cut off my right hand.
And California Democratic Senator Kamala Harris, while not attending AIPAC, met with AIPAC leaders at her Washington office yesterday. She posted on Twitter that she met with the California AIPAC representatives to discuss the need for a strong U.S.-Israel alliance, the right of Israel to defend itself, and she wrote, "My commitment to combat anti-Semitism in our country and around the world." And The Forward reported, citing spokespeople for Kirsten Gillibrand and Amy Kraubacher, that they would be meeting with their constituents as well. A delegation of the American Jewish Committee was in Washington this week to meet with members of the American Muslim communities. The AJC said the two-day listening tour addressed the joint battle fighting bigotry and hate crimes against Muslims and Jews, and identifying and combating misperceptions of the other. AJC's U.S. Director of Muslim-Jewish Relations, Ari Gordon, said Jews and Muslims share traditions, values, and culture. We must learn to work through the tensions that threaten to divide us so that we can yield the fruit of working on a common agenda. Imam Mohammed Magid, who leads the Adams Center, said Muslims and Jews need to stand up for each other when either group is attacked. We must also commit to fighting anti-Jewish and anti-Muslim bigotry as they appear within our own communities. U.S. fast food giant McDonald's is acquiring Israeli startup Dynamic Yield for $300 million. The Israeli company helps businesses tailor their website to target consumers based on their behavior using machine learning algorithms. McDonald's hopes the Israeli firm can help increase its internet marketing efforts. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, March the 26th, we bring you the opening plenary of the AIPAC National Policy Conference at 7 o'clock tonight, beginning with AIPAC CEO Howard Kor's remarks, followed by remarks from the Prime Minister of Cabo Verde, the Prime Minister of Romania, the President of Honduras, and the Mayor of Washington, D.C. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Yossi Klein Halevi on L'chaim. At 10, it's the 4th annual Brooklyn Jewish Hall of Fame inductees ceremony. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, Mark Golub speaks with Shalom Hartman President Daniel Hartman about the rocket attacks on Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, March the 26th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader.